Welcome to another episode of the World Recreational Fisheries Conference 2026 interview series. We are wrapping up this series of interviews by speaking to the main man who put the majority of the conference together, Professor Warren Potts, Director of the South African Fisheries and Ecological Research Lab and recently appointed Amanzi Chair in Environmental Justice for Africa's coastal and inland fisheries. Thank you. I'm not going to say welcome because I'm in your homeland and on your stomping ground here. But have you had a good week, Warren?
I've had an amazing week. It's been incredibly busy. That team that we had, the local organizing committee, was just absolutely phenomenal. And the amount of time and effort that went into organizing this conference is incredible. And they did an amazing job. I was just sort of the face of it, but really there was so much stuff going on around me that I had no clue about, and they were incredible.
Yeah, good leadership goes a long way.
But it's been incredibly fulfilling week, and I've loved every moment of it. And I think probably the thing that I loved the most about it was watching the postgraduate students interact with everyone from around the world. And that was it was really fulfilling.
We were just speaking before I hit record about meeting your heroes and and especially for the early career researchers, they're in rooms with people that they've always cited and only ever spoken about. I think that's what makes these types of conferences so special. Do you want to speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it was exactly the same for me. So my first World Recreational Fisheries Conference was back in 2012 in Germany, and I just started my postdoc. I was doing a postdoc at the time, and I went, and it was just, I saw suddenly put faces to the names and met a lot of people, and it was just like I was starstruck, and it was just, incredible. And I was so inspired at that conference, and I was just, I saw the same looks today and through the conference in the postgrads and early career researchers, and it's just like, it's exactly what I want.
It's a definite comfort feeling knowing that the next generation is getting primed to take over the reins. Is there confidence in the next generation?
Yeah, absolute confidence. I watched all of I didn't watch all of the postgraduate talks, but the ones that I did watch were incredible. They were astounding and like so professional, super nervous, but it didn't appear that way. Presenting at an international conference like that is like incredibly nerve-wracking with all your heroes sitting in the audience, and you've got to like navigate your slides and try and talk and present well and everything. But they were superb, but also the stuff that they were doing, the research that they were doing was such high quality and just really, you could see that they not only understood their subjects, but they had delved deeply into them. They'd read widely around them, and they knew exactly what they were talking about. So it was superb.
Warren, you've recently been appointed the Oppenheimer Chair in Environmental Justice for Africa's coastal and inland fisheries. Please, can you explain, maybe to the layperson, congratulations, firstly.
Thank you very much.
Because I know that this is a very big position that you've just taken up. What does this mean?
So it's an incredible opportunity to, and supported by the Oppenheimers. It's an incredible opportunity to do some real meaningful research. So inland and coastal fisheries are multi-sectoral and incredibly complicated and very understudied and poorly governed in South Africa at the moment. There is so much potential for social development. There is so many opportunities to support livelihoods, and there's so many opportunities to support health and well-being of people. But we've got to get balances right. And we have to get, there's got to be justice around both for the environment itself, to make sure that the environment flourishes, but also so that people have equal access to the resources. And in order to do that, we have to do research right across from the social sciences through to the ecological component of fisheries, and then understanding the governance structures. And what's very interesting is it's super timely, because we're about to implement the inland fisheries policy, and the government is making strides on that, but they need assistance, and I think in how to go about it and how to balance, complex fisheries and how to decide who gets access to what and how do we do it for the best benefit for people. And so deciding on those things requires a lot of research and understanding, and hopefully we'll partner with them to try and make some really good decisions on how we're going to manage our inland fisheries resources. And then on the marine side, we're about to review our Marine Living Resources Act, which is the act that governs all fisheries activity in our national marine waters. And at the moment, the policy is old, and it does not necessarily align with contemporary fisheries management thinking. And there are some amazing opportunities to try and mold this policy and improve this policy so that we can really get environmental justice and justice for everyone. In other words, give everyone equal chance for access to these resources. And the way that recreational fisheries are going to be managed in the future, and every other fishery, depends very much on what is written in that policy, because the management agency can only do what is in that policy. They can't implement more than what the policy tells them to do. So if we don't get the policy right, we're not going to have great fisheries management until it gets amended probably in the very far future. So it's super important to get engaged with it now, understand exactly how we need to change it to get the best out of our inland and coastal fisheries.
What's the timeline on that, and can people get involved?
Absolutely. So the timeline is a little bit open-ended, and we've just hearing from the department that as the process has begun, there is going to be an opportunity for public comment somewhere down the line. And I would encourage everyone that feels anything or has a stake in fisheries or in the management of our ocean resources to really engage and read those documents and think about them and spend time, and don't just look over them, gloss over them, or don't ignore them, because it is so important that we get it right. And I was really happy with the conference being held here now, because I think many people that came got a lot more information about recreational fisheries and understand them so much better. So the comments that we're going to be getting are going to be so much better in that policy dialogue that we're going to have. So the timing is really good, and the chair equally, the research that we're producing here is directly related to try and make those policies and improve those policies and get them as good as possible.
The stars are aligning for sure.
They are.
It's very significant that this conference is being held in Africa for the first time. Do you want to speak to that significance, please?
Absolutely. So, as you know, it's been held all over the world.
Yeah.
And I think, firstly, the fact that they entrusted us with hosting this conference here says a lot for sort of South African recreational fisheries science, and that we've come a long way. So that was the first thing. And the second thing, it was an incredible opportunity for us to develop networks. We put together a community of practice for Africa, and this would never have been possible without, a lot of African researchers coming. And that was incredible. The networks that have been generated, and I'd say friendships, because those are the things that drive partnerships, and those are the things that drive collaboration, has been amazing. And I think the venue really contributed to that a lot, because and maybe the program too, because we had a lot of time together, and people were all at one venue, so we were stuck together, and it was amazing to see the amount of conversations that we had between the sessions and after the sessions. It was incredible.
And I think you deliberately made the Wi-Fi quite shoddy so that we could all spend a lot more time in conversation and a lot less time on social media. So well done.
I think a lot of people would have been, when they initially arrived, would have been very happy with really good Wi-Fi. But I think people really quickly got into the swing of things and realized that they had to actually start talking to one another and get off their phones and actually build some interpersonal relationships and not relationships over a screen, which is incredible.
Conferences like these are also very important places to identify challenges that need to be dealt with. We've had a week of interesting topics of discussion and interesting exchanges. What are those challenges that we've identified?
Yeah, so I'd say for lower middle income countries and countries in Africa, I think the biggest challenge is perhaps at a governance level, lack of awareness of recreational fisheries themselves. And I think the way that recreational fisheries are evolving in low and middle income countries is different to how they used to evolve historically. And that's because of connectivity of people, both in terms of foreign tourists that come into countries and people observe and see what recreational fisheries look like, and they learn. And then also social media, which drives a much more rapid development in recreational fisheries. And the problem with that is that when recreational fisheries develop really rapidly and small-scale fisheries are still very important, they begin competing directly. And it doesn't normally happen. It normally happens that as small-scale fisheries decline, recreational fisheries start growing as the economy grows, but they actually are pulling closer together now. So there's more overlap and more competition and potentially more conflict around those fisheries.
Very interesting. Yeah. How are we going to solve those challenges, Warren?
Well, the first thing is awareness, and governments need to become aware of the fact that all of these fisheries are compressed and all competing for the same resources. We have to recognize that recreational fisheries, while they can conflict with other fisheries, have massive potential for social development. And when we begin seeing that and begin trying to delve into getting those opportunities realized, what we can actually do is pull the effort in the small-scale fishery down, because people that are small-scale fishers might actually begin participating in tourism around fisheries, recreational fisheries. And when we do that, then we're starting to get a balance, and then suddenly there's less pressure on our resources. The local economies are diversified away from straight fisheries to fisheries and tourism, and then the two can blend and support each other in a way.
The conference theme emphasized resilience. In today's context, with climate change and economic instability and increasing competition for resources and governance instability, what does resilience mean for recreational fisheries?
So you mentioned it all.
I did.
So resilience is the ability to withstand all of those forces, like changing governance, changing climate, changing socioeconomic conditions, etc. And if we can get our fishery systems, and not just the fish themselves, but the systems, to not necessarily be negatively impacted if we have a governance change that's negative, for example, then we're talking about resilience. If we have a fisheries system that can continue delivering fish despite a changing climate, then we have a resilient fishery system. And if shocks to the social fabric, for example, or the social component of fisheries occur, but yet the fishery still operates, then we have a resilient system.
Looking beyond the event itself, we've all gathered here for this week. What legacy would you like this year's conference hosted on African soil to take forward?
I would say the biggest legacy would be cooperation between the developed and the developing world, or high income and low middle income countries. Relationships, strong relationships, collaboration, and a feeling that we're all in it together, and so a communal, sort of realization that we all have to play our part to make things work.
And what's that one thing that people can do, whether or not they are attendees of the conference or just happen to come across this episode and this recording? What's the one thing that people can do to make that difference?
People in general, I feel that more and more people look at recreational fishing and they frown upon people doing it, perhaps, because they don't necessarily understand what it's all about. And I think we need to appreciate the societal well-being that is associated with recreational fisheries. the health benefits that people get from recreational fisheries, the stress relief that people get from recreational fisheries, potential food benefits that people get from recreational fisheries, and highly nutritious food too. And it's so important for people to connect with nature. And so many hundreds of thousands of South Africans connect with nature through fishing. And if we lose that connection, and we lose our connection with nature, then we are going down a very, very horrible path, because we've only got one planet.
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard you say a few times this week that, South Africa is great, but the Eastern Cape is really where it's at. Please talk about your relationship with the Eastern Cape.
Yeah, so I'm saying that, and while I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't have said that, because I really wanted to stay like it is.
Yeah. That's what happens when people identify.
Yeah, so we mustn't talk too much, but I love the fact that the Eastern Cape is rural. I love that you can walk up the beach on a given day and not see a soul. Can't do that in KZN. You can't do that in the Western Cape, but you can definitely do it here. And inland as well is great. I mean, so much of our agriculture has been replaced with game farms and things like that. So we've got it's natural, and it feels like historic.
I hate to say it, but it feels like Africa.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
it does. And I mean, that's really what I love about the Eastern Cape. It's got governance and municipal problems, but that's all the way through the country.
Exactly.
But I think the quality of life that someone can have in the Eastern Cape is second to none. I mean, there's great schools in the Eastern Cape. There's just, there's pretty much everything that you want. I mean, wonderful recreational opportunities, whether you're interested in fishing or aquatic life or mountains or game viewing or anything. It's all here. It's superb.
I mentioned to you that I was very impressed, or let me rather say, surprised to hear that majority of the people I spoke to this week, they say that it's not about catching the fish. It's about the process that goes into it. So many people told me they can go out on any given day and they don't need to catch a fish. What does the ideal fishing day look like for Aaron? Do you have to catch a fish? Do you not have to catch a fish?
I definitely have to catch a fish. Several. For an ideal fishing day. No, my ideal fishing day would be to wake up super early, 3 a.m, get my stuff out, and then be a long way up the beach where there's no one and nothing, and then watching a sunrise with lines in the water.
Are you alone?
In the middle of nowhere? No.
Okay.
With Josh, my son.
Okay.
That's ideal day. Ideally with Amber, my wife, and Riley, my daughter, but that doesn't always happen. But that's my ideal start to the day. And some fish are always good.
What are you catching?
Anything that bites. For me, catching the huge diversity on our coast is just what it's all about. I'm not keeping anything, but just trying to persuade different species to bite.
To come and say hi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what sort of gets me going.
Warren, thank you so much for the conference that you put together. I know you had a big team behind you, but I think it's been a phenomenal week. Lots of ideas have been shared, lots of research, lots of fun, lots of stories. And I think it's definitely set the bar for whoever hosts in 2029. So thank you.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure.